Hello, fellow parents and educators. Thank you for joining me at Education Evolution, where we are disrupting the status quo in today's learning models. We talk about present-day education, what's broken, who's fixing it, and how. I'm Dr. Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your host and founder of Education Evolution and the Microschool Coalition, where we are fiercely committed to changing the narrative, to reimagining the education landscape and creating learning that serves all children and prepares them to thrive. Good morning, Education Evolution listeners. Today I'm looking at one of the huge benefits of parents getting involved right now in pandemic pods and in microschools, parent empowerment. I'm going to address the village approach to raising a child, synergy with common goals to maximize learning, and 3 steps every school leader can take to support parent empowerment. First, the village approach. Most of us have heard the proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. Some attribute this proverb to African and others to Native American culture. Both cultures are very communal. This proverb goes beyond giving parents a hand, and it stresses that the whole society is needed. Everyone needs to be involved in raising a child. So we need to think, what values, responsibilities, and life lessons could our society be sharing? How could we rethink the whole society supporting our kids? School is a huge part of our child's day. This institution rarely has the bandwidth to see and support the holistic growth of each child. Yes, identified students might receive free or reduced breakfasts and lunches. Yes, an observant, caring teacher might go beyond the lessons to connect with a student. But how can an institution focus on how much information a student can relay on a test, evolve, and meet the needs of raising a happy, healthy, thriving, contributing youth? So we know society can help. Society needs to help in an overhaul, and it needs to connect so that we have a fuller village included in raising our precious children. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are systems like Big Picture Learning and High Tech High that really get the society and community involved. They create internships and connections throughout the community. Students' passions drive what they are studying. Mentors in the community provide apprenticeships and new worlds open for students. Let's talk a little bit more about Big Picture Learning. I have put their 10 distinguishers in the show notes. Love that they have personalized learning and advisory. 2 of their distinguishers that tie into our need for a village of support are parent and family engagement. And they say that parents are welcome and valued members of the school community and play a proactive role in their child's learning, collaborating in the planning and assessment of student work. They use their assets to support the work of the school and often play an integral role in building relationships with potential LTI mentors. So Big Picture Learning is really counting on engagement beyond teachers and students. Another of their 10 distinguishers is school culture. In Big Picture schools, there's a palpable trust, respect, and equity between and among students and adults. Students take leadership roles in the school, and teamwork defines the adult culture. Student voice is valued in the school decision-making process, and visitors are struck by the ease with which students interact with adults. Wow. What if we were all working together in a culture of respect and trust? Magical, right? This model is a philosophy, and it's been applied in a myriad of different schools. So it's a fantastic place for a group of interested school change agents to begin. And where would you start? You want to find the community who share your vision. There's a power in synergy working with others who share common goals. And I bet some of your goals are maximizing learning and development using current research That's a great place to start. Research who is doing learning well. What features could easily be added to an existing system? How could large schools and districts be broken into smaller pieces with more autonomy? A lot of times a school within a school breaks away and has the resources of the larger school, but has a focus on the arts or STEM or you name it. Which teachers would be willing to join your group and share an inside perspective of the school workings? So these are all pieces as you're creating this sense of synergy. You really want like-minded people working with you. Think outside of the box. Who are those people? You are getting more involved in your students' education. Let this be the beginning. Regardless of the pandemic, keep going and help create these synergistic groups that can influence change in our schools. Third, let's look at school leaders. School leaders, you can be a resource and support our engaged and passionate parents. Here are 3 steps that every school leader can take to support parent empowerment in the classroom or the micro school. School leaders create a parent advisory to explore school models, community resources, and the current research on holistic learning that includes mental health support and equity in our schools. Pull in some innovative teachers. Set measurable goals and meet at least monthly to move forward in achieving those goals. Second, look at how you can create pockets of change. We're not going to turn things around overnight. But look at the programs that are in demand and have waiting lists. Is there a choice school in your district that could be replicated? Is there a successful drama teacher in your building who could become the center of a performing arts school within a school for artsy kids? What pockets of change might you be able to create? Third, do not settle for the status quo. I know you are slammed that you have so many conflicting and competing priorities. Ethical leadership guru Stephen Covey is one of my favorites. I've taken pretty much all of his trainings over the years, and he wrote the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In habit 3, he reminds us we have to put first things first. He says, putting first things first means organizing and executing around your most important priorities. It is living and being driven by the principles you value most, not by the agendas and forces surrounding you. And I know if you're like I am, you do get this parent that has a big concern, or you get these things that feel urgent and they're not necessarily your top priorities long-term, but you're pulled in various directions. And he has some suggestions for us on how we can plan around our biggest and most important priorities and not leave important things to chance. I'm sure that the mental health statistics that tell us that our youth are anxious, depressed, and not thriving keeps you up at night, as it does me. It's a priority for me as a school leader to think about how I can be more holistic and how I can really make sure that my students' mental health is addressed and not just their graduation requirements. So how can you create time to focus on this priority that goes beyond any achievement test in terms of importance? Covey explains the 4 quadrants of time management, and I have some links in the show notes. He talks about we are pulled by what's important and not important. So those are 2 rows in his chart. And then he talks about what's urgent and not urgent. So if something is urgent and important, it's like the pandemic. It's like we have to keep our kids safe. That's quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 is important stuff that's not urgent, that's not a fire to be put out immediately. This is where we get to focus on our priorities and what aligns with our principles. We get to do proactive work. We have important goals. This is where we do our creative thinking and where our advisory board with parents and innovative teachers would come in. This is planning and preventing, so it's proactive. It's relationship building. It's learning and renewal. It's giving you time to reflect and to breathe. It's recreation so that you have a work-life balance. On the second row, he talks about the not important. There are urgent distractions and people, oh my gosh, I have to talk to you now, that are unnecessary, that are interrupting, that are irrelevant. You've got to steer clear of these. You've got to really have clear boundaries and filters. And then there's just the waste of time, quadrant 4, not urgent, not important. That's when like we're on overload and we might be playing a game on our phone or scrolling through social media. These are time wasters. So if we can really get in quadrant 2, we can focus on making these important changes that are really powerful for us. So my microschool is listening to parents and students, and we're trying really hard in this pandemic to look at the holistic piece. It is not pretty creating change. We looked at how we could be outside. And this past week, we were outside and checking the Wi-Fi and listening to the noise. And we became aware of how noisy our neighborhoods are and how limited our Wi-Fi is outdoors. So we had to pivot, and microschools can pivot pretty quickly because they are small and nimble. And we decided we needed remote mornings, and we need the kids to do the classes that take online, any research, writing, online math, and then we'll come together in the afternoons and make it much more project-based, much more mental health, social connection-based. And any of our kids that need to stay in the remote learning will work really hard in the afternoons to weave them into those conversations. So we're just like everybody else. How do we do this? And we're constantly adjusting, but we're willing to adjust. And everybody needs to be demanding that schools keep adjusting so that we're serving kids. So my magic wand, if I had a magic wand right now, I would use it to empower parents to continue to own their power and their voices, to update our institution of school to one that focuses on the holistic needs of each child and equity for all children. One that's not an assembly line that says every kid should be in the identical place if they have the same birthday. They should be the same math level, the same literacy level, the same social development level. I would use my power. I would have parents use their power to create institutional change. Parents, your voices are needed to update our assembly line schools and provide holistic resources for our students. You're taking this on during the pandemic. You're looking for ways to address your children's social and mental health needs and to deal with the often dreaded drudgery of online learning. Your investment in your child's learning can't stop now. You need to demand that schools evolve and that the resources are allocated for schools to create more choices to serve our rainbow of learners. Does your district have a choice school with a mile-long waiting list? How can you help your district create a plan to create more of these choice schools or to embed them within a school in a larger school model? You have to be willing to push for the support these needed changes take. Teachers want a more humane system, but their days are filled meeting the mandates of the existing system. Get your team together and claim the power you have to be a force for change in our outdated school system. Our children are waiting. If you're finding yourself thinking, I need to do this in my school, let's talk about it. Earlier this year, I got to present models for diverse learners for the South American Inclusion School of 2020 conference. There are many ways to enhance the holistic support of our learners. Let's create an action plan together. Visit educationevolution.org/consult to book a call, and let's get started. Education Evolution listeners, you are the ones to ensure we create classrooms where each student is seen, heard, valued, and thriving. We need you. Let's go out and reach every student today. Leaving a rating and review for this podcast lets others know that you find it of value and gets it in the earbuds of more educational leaders like you. Thank you for listening. Signing off, I am Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your partner in boldly reimagining education.